G'day everyone and welcome back to another Ross Reviews, where today we are finally doing a highly requested video of a FG XR6 versus a VE SV6. So today we're going to be putting these two cars up head to head. We're going to take them out for a drive, we're going to review them, and we are going to launch these things. So we're going to find out which one actually is the quickest. So make sure you stick around and let's get into it. Now let's just go over some of the differences between these two cars, because on paper, they're actually extremely similar. Both large cars, easily fit a family of 5 in these things, do whatever you need, you got tons of room in these cars. Both are 6 cylinders, both are rear wheel drive, both could have came as a 6-speed auto or a 6-speed manual. Both came out around that same time, so these were introduced around 2008, these were introduced in around 2006, and honestly, they almost cost the same amount of money as well, around that 40 grand mark. And under the bonnets, well, the SV6 has a 3.6 liter V6 engine, makes 281 horsepower and about 256 pound-foot of torque. And really the only issue I always have here is timing chains. Yeah. Anyways, over on the Falcon, this has got, of course, the legendary Barra 195 and 260 horsepower, 288 pound-foot of torque, 4 liters, inline 6, just a great engine, this thing. And yeah, more torque, less horsepower, more horsepower. So this is going to be really interesting to see how these two different engines kind of react in the driver's seat. So let's fire them up and hear how they sound. Now, starting off in the Falcon, in the XR6, guys, and funny enough, if you have been following the channel for a little while, you would have realized that we have actually reviewed this car previously. So we did, give this thing its own review about, 6 months ago. So yeah, to have it back on the channel again, going up against a VE is awesome work. So you gotta love this thing, 4 liter, inline 6. This particular one is a 6-speed manual, so it's quite rare to see. And mate, it shifts beautifully. Beautiful car to drive. This particular one, again, is totally factory. And it's actually a huge challenge to find these cars with nothing done to them. So again, I'm so grateful to have this one on the channel today. Now, fuel economy, look, if you had the ZF, this thing was claimed at about 10 liters per 100 Ks. In the manual, I believe it was claimed at 11, so just slightly higher. This particular one is averaging 9.2, so, it can be made pretty damn fuel efficient, this thing, even though it is a straight 4 liter. And that is kind of, I feel like personally, why you're gonna buy the XR6 over the SV6 is because of what's under that bonnet. The Barra is just a fantastic engine. It's used in the taxis, and it's just proven itself as one of the most reliable engines out there. So you can rack up hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Ks on this thing, and it's just gonna keep chugging along. It loves to eat those Ks up, and easy to work on yourself. It's pretty damn reliable. And really the biggest issue, which unfortunately this car is starting to experience, is the diff bushes. That's only affects the sedans, but if an XR6 sedan is something you're gonna look at, you're gonna have to check the diff bushes, because that is probably one of the most common issues that they'll have. That Barra just delivers so much torque, you really don't need to change the gears all that often. You can just kind of leave it in third, leave it in fourth, it'll sort you out. And just on the steering feel, it's pretty nice. You have a good connection to what the front wheels are doing. It is a little bit light, but it definitely is better than most. On the inside of this XR6, look, that's probably one of the biggest negatives that a lot of people will give this thing, because Ford never had great interiors, and this one really isn't that great either. You know, the seats are comfortable, seating position is great, the wheel feels pretty nice in the hands, simple gauges. Down the middle here, it is a little bit busy. Infotainment system doesn't have a whole lot of uses. There's no reverse camera even in this one, but it does all the basic things you really need it to do. On the used market, if you're going to pick up an FG XR6 nowadays, still going to be looking around that $10,000 to $15,000, depending on the spec and condition, Ks, of course. This particular one, being a manual, definitely is a little bit more desirable. You know, a 6-speed manual in one of these is quite hard to find. You're definitely going to be tipping that 15K mark in one of these ones. Now, 0 to 100 in this XR6. Look, we had done it previously, but we got the specialist timing gear now, the draggy, so we're going to give it another crack here. It is the manual, so it is going to be a little bit tougher than it would be if it was an auto. So we've reset the timing gear there. And yeah, we're just going to do what we can here. So build up slightly. Oh, no. Yep, that's the diff bushes. Sorry, mate, you're gonna have to get those diff bushes changed, but that's life with a Falcon sedan, unfortunately, guys. So it happens. This car is already up to 205,000 Ks now, so it's done pretty damn well to get that far. So let's have a look what that time was. All right, so 0 to 100, that was at 8 seconds, just about bang on. And actually, that was pretty similar, I believe, to the last time we did this. It was around that 7.9 or 7.8, I think. And look, it's a manual. The dip bushes are starting to go. We're on an old country road. I'm not going to just destroy the dip bushes trying to get a faster time. If it was the ZF, I do think we would have been around that 6.5 second, 7 second mark. So it'll be interesting to see what the VE can do. Now, just before we take off in this VE SV6, guys, I'm excited to announce we are doing a promotion with Laborde Motorsports here in Perth, Western Australia. They are an international company, and we're giving away a free tune every month. So you can get one of these power gates. If you're not in Perth, we can send you one of these out. They can do all of the tune through this over the internet. It's pretty crazy stuff, guys, and it is all custom to whatever needs you want for your specific vehicle. So to be entered into this competition, all you guys are gonna have to do is like this video, comment down below what car you have, where you're located, and share this video, guys. So I hope you guys do get on board because this could be a lot of fun. So let's get into this VE and taking off the old SV6, mate. Mate, I gotta say, it definitely moves. This particular one being the wagon, unfortunately, guys, it's so hard for me to find a manual and one that's a sedan that's not being touched. It really is a challenge to get these cars lining up exactly the same in terms of specifications, so I'm doing my best. But this wagon, they'd still do roughly weigh the same. They still roughly handle the same. This particular one, unfortunately, does have a set of springs in it, so it is a little bit lower. The ride is a little bit harsh, and it does corner a little bit better. You go around these country corners, handles itself pretty well. Again, the seats are pretty comfortable. Driving position is pretty nice. You've got a good view all around. As for the interior, you do get a little bit of a nicer head unit here for your infotainment system. Gauges are pretty standard, easy to use, that kind of thing. The wheel, it's big, it's large, very similar to the Falcons. And coming down the middle, it is a little bit tidier. It's not quite as busy and messy as the Falcon. I'm not a big fan of having the window switches in the middle here and the lock buttons, but I still think in terms of overall looks and style, you gotta give it to the Holden, the SV6. Just does look a little bit nicer in here. Now, fuel economy, look, this 3.6 liter V6 was meant to be more fuel efficient than the Barra, and on paper it was claimed at 9.5 liters per 100 Ks. This is currently getting about 11.5 on average, but we have been driving a little bit spiritedly through these backcountry roads, so I was expecting it would be a little bit higher. In terms of the actual engine power delivery, we do have a little bit more horsepower in this than the Falcon, but you really gotta push it to unlock that horsepower. It doesn't really awaken until you're kind of around that 4,000 plus RPM mark. And it does kind of make sense though, because the Barra does have more torque, so it is a little bit easier to get this car moving in lower RPMs. And this one kind of wants you to be a little bit higher up to get it moving. And as for the 6-speed automatic, look, it actually does a pretty decent job. I can't complain about it too much. It's fairly smooth in drive. You do have a sequential mode here, which is done in the right way, which is fantastic, Holden. So you pull down on it to go up a gear, push it forward to go down a gear, just like a sequential. Always how you should do it, so big thumbs up there. And it's reasonably smooth, I gotta say. Now price, again, these were from new, like we mentioned earlier, around that 43 grand mark, very similar to what the XR6 was from new as well. On the used market, again, these cars have basically just stayed parallel with the prices. So a VE, SV6, you're looking around 10, 15 grand again. This particular one is for sale at Car Giant WA, so a huge thank you to them for giving me this car for us to review today. There is a link for it in the description below if you guys want to check that out. Big things you got to look out for with this particular engine setup is, of course, the timing chains like to go on them. This one only has about 157,000 Ks on it, so it's reasonably low for its age. I definitely would be feeling safer buying a Barra than one of these cars with some higher Ks, because, yeah, anytime you got a V6 configuration, the inline six is just always going to be better. It just is. And if I'm being totally truthful, besides this having, you know, aftermarket suspension unfortunately fitted, so it is a little bit stiffer and lower, this car really does drive very well, and it's very similar to the Falcon actually. It's almost scary similar. You know, if you're just cruising, the way these drive, you can't really tell them all that apart in terms of how they go. It's not really until you push them that you can see a bit of a difference. This one, you really got to go for it in this one, but when it drops down, it definitely goes hard. And the Falcon definitely has a little bit more ease about it. That torque definitely helps slow down, and it doesn't take so much movement from the pedal to get it to move. Now, 0 to 100 in the VE, guys, claimed it about the same as the Falcon, around 6.5 seconds, I believe. I do feel like this is definitely going to give us a better run. It's easier to do it. We've got traction control off, and let's go. Yeah, mate. It's decently quick. It is. I gotta give it to the SV6. Definitely matches the Barra in stock form as a fun car to drive, as a quick car. Yeah, I just wish this was a manual. That would have been pretty fun. It would have been actually a pretty good car to drive, definitely. Now, 0 to 100 there, guys, was bang on 6.5 seconds. So basically exactly what it was claimed at. And I feel like that's pretty good. That is a pretty healthy time for a car of this size, of this horsepower level. And I gotta say, on the B road, when you're pushing it, this thing is pretty fun to drive. It actually is. And now I'm gonna show you a clip here of what a stock standard ZF XR6 will give you, I have reviewed on a previous day, so, you know, they're pretty damn comparable. $100.
So in the end, as you can see there, the SV6 was actually the quicker car, and that very much did surprise me. In the end, this SV6 really did hold its own versus the NA Barra and quite impressed me, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. Still in the end though, if I was going to be looking for a used car on an SV6 or a naturally aspirated Barra, of course I'm always going to choose the Barra just because of how good the reliability is, the potential for modifications, tuning. The Barra just does have that edge, it really does. But if you did want something that has that Holden look and isn't going to break the bank, still offering Falcon XR6 performance, the SV6, it's a really good car. Thanks for watching.